Greetings from a field in Lakeland, Florida. We have been camp hosts in this field. We have been boondocking, dry camping, whatever you want to call it, in the Airstream. Our first time doing that in the Airstream. All that solar on the roof did great. I never had to pull the generator, and that is exciting. But even more exciting is the reason we are in this field.
Ready, hit it.
We've been at Fun Aerospace Expo 2023, which is, we're gonna say, the second largest air show in the country behind the Oshkosh Air Venture. If you listen to the Sun and Fun organizers, they'll tell you they're the biggest, but we're not really sure. It depends on what you define as biggest. Most airplanes, most people, most sessions. There's a lot going on here. We had a great week here. We got to meet some celebrities. We got to meet some pilots. We got to meet a whole lot of people that were here and excited to learn about the aviation industry, and whether they were pilots themselves or just interested in aviation. We and they all had a great week this week, and it was super hot, but super fun.
We served as camp hosts for E3 Camping. That organization had set up, they actually was E3 Aviation was the main sponsor for Sun and Fun, and their partner organization, E3 Camping, set up a field here for just camping members of their organization, and they were all able to come out here in this kind of private area where we were camped and hosting them, and then we got to go in and out of the show, and even, you know, there was air shows constantly overhead, and even overhead of the campsite, the practice, the first day that the Blue Angels went up for practice, and they came roaring over our trailer was amazing. And so we had a lot of fun doing that.
I think that was one of the highlights of the show, and one of the big draws for the people that came to the show, the attendees, was having the Blue Angels perform Friday, Saturday, and Sunday here. And like you said, they showed up on Wednesday afternoon, or Thursday afternoon, I guess, for practice. They have to do a dry run. They have to get their bearings, understand the airport, because, I mean, they're traveling every weekend, essentially, from March to November, somewhere around the United States. So they show up a couple days early, practice. And yeah, man, when they went over the campground, we got some great shots of them going right over the Airstream. But man, that was loud.
Well,
but they're so cool.
But not as loud. You can have 4 Blue Angels go over, and they're not as loud as a single F-35 Lightning, which you were excited about because you got to meet the demo pilot, the commander of that team.
Yes. So I got to meet Major Kristen Beowulf. She is the pilot for the F-35A Lightning II, the demo plane, as Ari said. And it's just really cool because as a female who had at one point had aspirations of wanting to be a fighter pilot, or at least just any pilot in the air, you know, in the military, and was told I was too short. And at the time, women were still kind of on the bubble of, you know, whether it was acceptable or not. So to see her not only serving in the military and flying in the military, but serving as the demo pilot for the F-35. I mean, that's everybody's like dream plane right now. And so that was really cool. And she's super nice. I got to sit and listen to a presentation by her, heard about her backstory and, you know, her dreams and aspirations and what it's like to fly that thing. Because when you're talking about the number of G's that it pulls, I just can't imagine like, what it's actually doing to your body.
You mentioned Oshkosh, and we do have a video from when we went there last summer. If you haven't seen it, I'll put that link in the description below so you can check it out. It's very similar in terms of there's always something going on. There's so much activity here, whether you're attending seminars, if you are just looking for something from the vendors, if you're watching all the air shows, if you're checking out airplanes and helicopters and things that are for sale. If you want to test something out, you went on it's a parachute with an engine. What is that thing called?
Yeah, like not the hang gliders, but like, yeah, the power parasailing. There's a couple different terms for
power parachute.
You know, it's the things that look like the airboats in the Everglades, but with a parachute attached to it.
No, to me, it looks like
it looks
like a go-kart hanging under a parachute when you fly over.
That was a really unique experience, and I had no intentions of even knowing that was an option. I was out for my morning run, happened to see them out flying, and ran by to just watch and take some pictures. Found out they were offering free flights that morning, and I said, sure, why not? And so I went up with one of their flight instructors who had a tandem parachute, and so he took me around the we did a big loop kind of around the airfield, around the air show, and so you definitely get that bird's eye view from the sky, which is still just even very different from being in a plane, because you are out in the open. I mean, you are literally like, that's as close as you can get to like being a bird, is like flying in that open parachute glider. So that was really cool. I think that was definitely my highlight. After meeting Kristen, that was my highlight of the week.
Well, and as the passenger on that, you actually sit right up front. You're in front of the pilot.
Yeah.
So you got nothing in front of you but your feet.
It's just feet and field and sky, and oh, that was really cool.
That's cool. Yeah, and I think, because I mentioned there's so much going on, and I think, for the whole family, there's all kinds of activity here, whether you're into seeing private planes, if you're into seeing military planes, whether it's the new stuff like the F-35 that's out here, or they've got a military warbirds section, which is always cool to see, the old B-25s flying and the P-51 Mustangs, and there's just something special about seeing those and knowing that, we won World War II with those machines, and then they fly them next to planes like the F-35 and the F-22s, and you wonder what those guys went through when they were flying those in battle.
And one of the things I enjoy seeing at the show is the experimental aircraft and the things that you don't think should get off the ground, but the pilots out here they're building their own aircraft, they're trying new things, whether that's putting the propeller, what they call, it's a hashtag backwards airplane. They put the propeller on the back of the airplane, or it's like a four-wheeled contraption, helicopter-y looking things. I mean, I don't know what these technical terms are. I'm sure they have them, but they're just really unique aircraft. Like I said, the experimentals that they're trying and seeing what's next for technology and what else can you do. And more kudos to the pilots who are out there flying those experimental aircraft, because everybody thinks, you get in a plane, you go fly, but they're not all built the same, I guess. And not every pilot is built, but mentally is built the same. Because I even heard from some folks who are pilots when they learned that I went up in the parachute, and they were like, wow, I'm not sure I would do that. Like, that's just a different breed. So, to each their own.
Well, in different breed, you talk about Saturday night, the big air show on Saturday night
gosh.
With the fireworks at the end, including the guy who flies through the fireworks with fireworks shooting out of the wings of his plane.
He's the crazy one. I think everybody has agreed that he's the crazy one. Very cool to watch.
Very cool to watch. But I asked somebody I was sitting with, I said, I kind of wonder, what does that look like when you're flying? And she said, I don't know, the end of the world? I mean, it's insane to think about being up there.
Speaking of crazy things, if you come to the daily air show, you're going to see all sorts of acrobatic stunts by these pilots who have trained for hours to be able to pull these things off and make their planes do things that planes shouldn't do. Flip upside down, fall without gravity, stall, lots of flips and turns and twists and all sorts of things. So it's well worth coming out for at least one day of the afternoon air show as well as the evening air show to see those different pilots and the stunts that they pull off, because it is quite amazing what they do. And if you are coming, this is one of those shows where it starts officially on Tuesday and goes through Sunday. The big stuff is really Friday and Saturday here. By Sunday, most of the planes and the people are starting to pull out. They've got to get back to their real jobs on Monday morning. So we really would encourage you to kind of look at the schedule and try if you could come on Friday or Saturday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you do get some of those daily air shows, but you get some of the smaller planes, some of the practice runs like we saw with the Blue Angels. So it just kind of depends on what you're interested in. If you're coming here, there's a campground that you can stay at, and there's nightly movies. So all of them they were all obviously related to aviation of some kind, whether that was Top Gun or planes from Pixar, and everything in between. So there's all sorts of activities going on. Like you said, stuff for the family, food vendors, kids activities, meet the pilots, and just a lot of going on. Oh, and the Florida Air Museum is here on the grounds, and your admission to the show also during the show week gets you admission to the Air Museum as well, or at least it did this year.
It did, yeah. And it's not real big, but they've got some interesting displays in there. And if you need a break and get out of the heat for a little bit and kind of wander around in there,
the air conditioning felt nice.
And it is included, in your price when you pay your ticket to get into the show. They do weekly and daily tickets, so depending on how much time you have and how much time you want to spend here enjoying this.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like you said, if you watch or if you haven't watched our Oshkosh video, you'll see some very similar things, and yet you get different experiences. It depends on which pilots are here, which planes are here. The weather can always impact everything as well, but I think either or, if you haven't been to an air show in a while, whether you're a pilot or you or your kids have an interest in flying of any kind, I think both the Air Venture in Oshkosh and as well as Sun and Fun here in Lakeland are both something you should check out.
A big shout out to E3 Aviation Association as the main sponsors for Sun and Fun this year, and E3 Camping and our fellow members of E3 Camping that we hung out with all week. We had a great time hanging out with you guys, getting to know you a little bit better. If you get a chance, check out e3camping.com. Check out Sun and Fun when you get down to the Lakeland, Florida area. In the meantime, keep on trekking.
And we'll see you out there.